he left me standing in the rain, chasing the woman he swore was just a friend. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I walked away, pregnant, forgotten, and done. No. I'm raising our child without him, loved and protected by a man who showed up when no one else did. And when my ex came crawling back, I gave him one answer. You forgot me once. I remembered myself forever. If I ever write an autobiography, the first chapter will be titled, The Day I Swapped Shrimp for an Umbrella and Left My Marriage in a Thunderstorm. I was standing outside Maple Street Market with a bag full of fresh seafood, waiting for my husband. Keyword. Waiting. The rain came down so hard it looked like the sky had a vendetta against me. And yet I waited. Lucas Turner had texted me an hour earlier. Leaving now. Just checking on Isabelle. Be there soon. Isabelle. His ex. The ever-glowing centerpiece of his nostalgia. And, apparently, still the woman who could make him forget he had a wife. The thunder rumbled like it agreed with me. I stood under the market's awning, drenched from the knees down, holding on to that flimsy hope that maybe he'd still show up. Spoiler, he didn't. One by one, the women around me were whisked away. Boyfriends running in with umbrellas. Husbands pulling up with the heat on. Even the woman who forgot her purse got picked up with an apologetic kiss and a "don't worry, baby." Meanwhile, I was slowly transforming into seafood soup. That's when a sanitation worker, probably twice my age and 10 times my strength, waddled past and offered me her umbrella with a half smile. Take it, sweetheart. You're shaking like a leaf. I looked down at the shrimp in my bag. Then at her. Trade. She blinked. For shrimp. Tiger prawns, I replied. Fresh. Her grin spread like butter on toast. Deal. And that's how I left behind a bag of groceries, a crumbling marriage, and a version of myself I didn't even like anymore. All in one transaction. I stepped into the rain with my new umbrella. Battered, mismatched, but faithful. Already better than Lucas. The cab stand wasn't far. I hailed one down and slid into the back seat, soaking wet and smelling faintly of the ocean. Where to? The driver asked. I thought about it. About the house I didn't want to go back to. The dinner table where silence had become our third guest. The bed I used to share with someone who now shared everything. Attention, time, maybe even his heart. With someone else. Airport, I said. Fast. Inside the terminal, the flight board flickered with names I didn't recognize. Tokyo. Cape Town. Seaforth. Seaforth? I had no idea where that was. Sounded coastal. Quiet. Far from Lucas Turner and his never-quite ex Isabelle. Perfect. I booked the earliest flight to Seaforth one way. No checked bags. No goodbye note. Just me and the weight of 3 years of marriage soaked into my skin. My phone buzzed again, Lucas. I stared at the screen until the call faded. Then it buzzed again. I laughed under my breath, a sharp little sound that made the lady beside me clutch her pearls. He remembered. A little late, babe. When the third call came through, I answered for exactly 2 seconds, just enough to hear him say, Ava? Then I blocked the number. No dramatic exit, no warning shots, no revenge playlist blaring in the background. Just a quiet decision finally made. The flight boarded. The sky outside was still dark, thunder murmuring in the distance. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes, the cold from my damp clothes seeping into my skin, but not my bones. No, something in me had gone warm. Resolved. Lucas Turner forgot me in the rain. And I remembered who the hell I was. Seaforth smelled like brine, pine trees, and old money that had long since stopped caring how it looked. The airport was tiny. 2 gates, a sleepy cat curled up on a luggage cart, and a vending machine that only took coins. The sky had cleared, but the scent of rain still clung to the pavement, as if the storm had followed me here just to make sure I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't. I checked into the only inn with a working neon sign. It was run by a woman named Elsie who wore orthopedic sandals and looked like she could still beat someone with a soup ladle. You got luggage? She asked. Just emotional. She didn't laugh, but she gave me the key to room 6 and handed me a folded towel. Heat's finicky. Don't wear socks in the shower. Don't die in the bed. I don't clean up messes. Charming. I didn't sleep that night. Too many thoughts clawing at the walls of my brain like they were late to a sale. What if Lucas tried to find me? What if Isabelle had fainted again and he got distracted mid-search? What if, God forbid, he didn't even notice I was gone? At some point my body gave out and I dozed off wearing my airport hoodie and clutching a complimentary pillow that smelled vaguely of eucalyptus and regret. Morning came with sunshine and nausea. Violent, gut-churning, stomach-in-my-throat nausea. I stumbled to the bathroom, dropped to my knees and dry-heaved into the toilet like a woman being punished by karma itself. Except I couldn't remember doing anything bad enough to deserve this. Unless sarcasm counted. In which case fair enough. By the time I wiped my mouth and stared at my reflection in the mirror, I looked like death with a side of eyeliner. I rinsed my face, brushed my teeth with a spare mini toothbrush I found in the travel pouch, and pulled my hair into a messy bun. Then I did what any rational woman in my position would do. I googled nearest clinic Seaforth. The clinic looked like it belonged in a Pinterest board titled, "If Hospitals Were Cozy." It had soft white walls, wooden floors and a front desk covered in succulents. There were no sterile white uniforms, no cold glares. Just the hum of ceiling fans and a scent I couldn't place. Something between lavender and lemon cake. Name? The receptionist asked, not looking up. Ava Morgan. First visit. First time running away to a fishing town in the middle of a storm because my husband forgot me for his ex-girlfriend? I offered sweetly. She blinked. So, yes. Yep. He handed me a form. The nurse will call you in shortly. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in a small room with my knees drawn up and a paper sheet covering my thighs when the door opened. And the man who walked in made me briefly forget why I was there. The broad shoulders. Rolled up sleeves on his lab coat. A stethoscope casually slung around his neck like it belonged there. Which, to be fair, it probably did. He had that disarming kind of face. The one that made you feel like you could trust him with your medical chart and your childhood trauma. "I'm Dr. Noah Bennett," he said with a smile that somehow didn't feel forced. "You're Miss Morgan?" "Guilty," I said, narrowing my eyes slightly. "You don't look like a small-town doctor. You look like you teach women's yoga on the weekends." He chuckled. "I do Pilates. Close enough." Damn. Sense of humor too. Dangerous. He scanned my chart, flipping pages casually. "Says here you've been nauseous for 2 days with fatigue and dizziness." I said, arms crossed. Thinking maybe I just overdosed on betrayal and red wine. "It happens." He looked up, mildly amused. "You live here in Seaforth?" "Nope. Just visiting. Taking a break from my old life." "Extended break?" "That depends. You hiring?" He laughed. "I could use someone to help organize the patient files." I was thinking more like food critic or seashell collector. "I'll keep your resume on file." Something about him disarmed me, and not in the slick Lucas Turner kind of way. Noah didn't look through me or past me. He looked at me. Like I wasn't someone's temporary stand-in or a forgotten lunch appointment. "I'll run some routine blood work, but I'd also suggest taking a pregnancy test," he said gently. I stiffened. His tone didn't change. "It's standard with nausea and missed cycles. Just to rule it out." "I haven't missed anything," I lied smoothly. He nodded, unaffected. "Still good to check." I hesitated. Not because I didn't suspect it, but because saying yes meant confronting the possibility that I was about to carry Lucas Turner's child. Which, yikes. Still I gave a small nod. "Fine. But if I am, you owe me cake." He grinned. "Deal." After the tests were done, he handed me his business card. "If you're staying in town and want to follow up, my clinic line is on the back." "Do I get cake if I test negative too?" I teased. "I'll upgrade you to pie." "Doctor, I think I'm falling for you." He laughed again. "That's probably the dehydration talking." Maybe it was. Or maybe, for the first time in months, I just felt seen. I stepped outside, the breeze tangling through my hair, and looked up at the cloudless sky. The same sky that had spat on me yesterday. Today it seemed gentler. Like maybe the universe wasn't trying to punish me, just reroute me. And in the pocket of my hoodie was Dr. Noah Bennett's card. Just in case. There's a very specific silence that falls after you find out you're pregnant by a man who forgot you existed during a thunderstorm. It's not grief. It's not rage. It's cosmic irony. The kind that makes you want to sit back, light a scented candle and tell the universe, "Okay girl, I see what you did there." I sat on a park bench across from the Seaforth clinic, paper bag crinkling softly in my hand, the positive result inside. The test had confirmed it. I was, in fact, growing a small human inside me. One with absolutely terrible taste in fathers so far. Well, I murmured to my stomach, guess it's you and me now, shrimp. I called it shrimp because according to the little pamphlet in the bag, that's the size it was. 7 weeks in and already causing drama. Figures. My child. Noah called later that afternoon to check in. I ignored the call at first. Not because I didn't want to hear his voice, it was a nice voice, deep and steady like it wouldn't flinch when things got loud, but because I didn't trust myself not to blurt out, so, if I keep this baby, want to help me name it after a pasta shape? I waited an hour then texted him back. I'm fine. Also, congratulations. You were right. Don't get smug. I'm fragile and sarcastic. He replied instantly. Never smug. Always available. Want soup? Soup? This man was weaponizing gentleness and it was dangerously effective. I didn't say yes to the soup. But that night it showed up anyway. Delivered to the inn by a delivery boy who looked like he feared I'd bite him. Which was fair. My hair was wild, I was barefoot and my mood swung like a wrecking ball. Inside the bag was a container of miso broth, a pack of saltines and a note. You're allowed to be angry, Ava. You're allowed to be everything. Eat something anyway. And, damn him. I ate it all. The next morning I woke to a knock on the door. I padded over barefoot thinking it was Elsie with more towels. I opened it. And there he was. Lucas Turner. Hair tousled just right. Wearing the same navy coat I once complimented at a gala. He looked polished, tired, and deeply out of place on a wood-planked porch in small town nowhere. He also looked scared. Good. Ava, he breathed, stepping forward. I stepped back. Wrong house, I said. Don't do that. Please. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you expecting a warm hug and fresh seafood? Because you kind of missed the chance to earn either of those things. He flinched. I'm here to talk. To fix things. Lucas. I crossed my arms. You left me standing in the rain. Not metaphorically. Literally. That's the kind of thing that doesn't get fixed with a talk. She collapsed, he said, eyes narrowing. Isabelle. At her mother's grave. I tilted my head. How tragic. I guess that makes forgetting your wife in a storm socially acceptable now. He ran a hand through his hair. I panicked. No, Lucas. Panicking is when you burn dinner and open a window before the fire alarm goes off. What you did was a choice. He looked at me then, really looked. At the dry lips. The shadows under my eyes. The slight curve of my hand over my stomach, even though I wasn't doing it consciously. His gaze sharpened. You're pregnant, he said softly. I didn't answer. You're carrying my child? I stared him down. I'm carrying a child. The rest of that sentence depends on how you behave from now on. He blinked, stunned. Good. Let it sink in. Lucas tried to step inside. I blocked the door with my foot. Don't. You don't get to walk in just because now there's something you think you want. I'm not a vending machine. You don't press the baby button and earn back a wife. He exhaled shakily. Ava, I didn't know. If I had. Oh, if you had what? Picked me up? Said a few kind words? Held my umbrella like a hero in a Netflix rom-com. I narrowed my eyes. Here's the problem, Lucas. You only remember me when someone else lets go. Silence. For the first time since I met him, Lucas Turner didn't have a comeback. That afternoon, Noah called again. I answered this time, standing in the inn's garden, trying to shake off the emotional residue of my confrontation. Hey, I said. Hey, he replied. You okay? Nope. But I'm upright and using full sentences, so I call that progress. He chuckled. Want company? I paused. Can you bring cake? Already en route. He showed up 20 minutes later with lemon cupcakes, 2 bottles of sparkling water, and an energy that didn't push, didn't pry, just existed. We sat on the porch steps, side by side, the sun setting over the Seaforth rooftops. I glanced at him, licking icing off my thumb. You always like this? Or do I just bring out your nurturing side? He grinned. Only for women who look like they've seen war and survived. Flatterer. No. Honest. We were quiet for a while. Then he spoke again. I'm not here to replace anything, Ava. Or anyone. But if you ever need someone who actually shows up, rain or shine, I'm around. My heart did a stupid little stutter. You make promises like that to all the emotionally wrecked women who eat cake on your porch? No, he said. Just the ones who deserve to be seen. And for the first time in weeks I didn't feel forgotten. Grandma Helen arrived with a duffel bag, a crock pot, and a plan. She didn't ask questions. She didn't sigh in disappointment or gently lecture me on the importance of communication with one's spouse. She just looked me up and down, handed me a Tupperware container and said, "Eat this. You look like a bruised apricot." The woman was a walking thunderstorm of tough love, warm biscuits, and unsolicited wisdom, and exactly what I needed. I moved in with her that afternoon. Her house was small and cheerful, nestled at the end of a gravel lane lined with overgrown rose bushes that had long since given up trying to bloom in a straight line. The moment I stepped inside I felt safe. Safe in that way you do when you realize no one in the room is keeping score. "I cleared out your old room," she said, setting her bag on the floor. "Still painted seafoam green. Still smells like you." I raised a brow. "Like trouble and rebellion?" She smirked. "Like lemon lotion and stubbornness." I hugged her tightly, my voice catching in my throat. "You always knew how to find me. You always call when it rains," she whispered back. "Just like your mother used to." That evening, while Grandma made cornbread and muttered about Lucas being a walking regret with good hair, I sat in the sunroom scrolling through my phone, contemplating whether blocking his number had been impulsive or just smart. Then it buzzed. Unknown number. I should have ignored it, but instead I answered. "Ava." The voice slithered through the speaker like perfume through velvet. "It's Isabelle." I didn't respond. "I'm not calling to argue," she continued. "I just wanted to say I hope everything works out with the baby." The way she said it, like it was some inconvenient rash I'd caught, made my skin crawl. "Did you need something?" I asked coolly, already regretting answering. "I just wanted to clear the air. Lucas and I, what we had, it's complicated." "And, you're a good person," she added, her tone fake sweet and venom-laced. "You're strong. That's why he chose you." "He didn't choose me," I corrected. "He forgot me. There's a difference." There was a pause. "I suppose you'll keep the baby?" she asked, voice dipped in mock concern. "Of course," I said. "One of us has to be capable of unconditional love." Her voice faltered. "Ava, don't turn this into a war." "No, Isabelle. That's the thing. There is no war. You can't fight for something that already walked away from you." Then I hung up and blocked the number before she could respond. I leaned back in the chair, heart racing, breath shaking. Then I let out a single laugh. Because for the first time since this whole mess started, I knew I'd won something. I hadn't needed to scream. I didn't slap her in some public showdown. I just stayed. And she hated it. Later that night, I heard a knock on the front porch. I opened the door to find Noah holding a gallon of milk and a box of cinnamon tea. "You okay?" he asked, gently brushing a lock of hair from my face. "I just eviscerated someone with words," I said calmly. "So yes, quite." He smiled. "Want a trophy?" I grinned. "Got any that say pregnant and petty but peaceful?" "No, but I could make you a sash." God help me, I liked this man. He stepped inside and we settled into the kitchen while Grandma Helen pretended not to listen from the other room. "She yours?" he whispered, nodding toward the shadow in the hallway. "Biologically? No. Spiritually? Absolutely. She once chased my middle school crush off the porch with a fly swatter. I like her. She's not for sale." He chuckled, stirring the tea. We sat in companionable silence for a while before he cleared his throat. "I don't want to overstep," he said, voice careful. "But if you're going to stay here for the rest of your pregnancy, I'd like to help." I arched a brow. "Because you feel sorry for me?" "No," he said without hesitation. "Because you're doing something brave. And because I like you." I blinked. "I like that you bite back. I like that you joke when you're scared. And I like that you're doing all of this even though it's hard." I stared at him. "You're dangerously close to sounding like a stable adult man with emotional intelligence. Do those still exist?" He smiled. "We're rare. Like solar eclipses and affordable rent." I laughed. "For real this time. Not the bitter, biting kind. The kind that made your shoulders drop and your lungs forget what they'd been holding." "You're different," I said quietly. "So are you." And just like that, without grand declarations or romantic cliches, he became my safe space. Over the next few weeks, Noah didn't try to fix me. He didn't offer speeches or strategies. He just showed up. With vitamins. With muffins. With jokes. With quiet, steady presence that filled the air without crowding it. When I had a bad night and cried over the sound of baby heartbeats on an old YouTube video, he sat beside me on the porch and didn't say a word. When I snapped at him for no reason, he brought me tea the next day anyway. When I felt bloated, broken, and borderline monstrous, he told me I looked powerful. I believed him. And not once, did he ask for anything in return. Meanwhile, Lucas? Well, Lucas was spiraling. He sent emails. Left voicemails. Sent me one of those ridiculous Instagram quotes about second chances and timing being cruel. He even showed up outside Grandma Helen's house one morning, looking like a rejected soap opera character. I didn't open the door. But Grandma did. And she told him calmly and cheerfully that I was doing just fine and didn't need closure delivered like a pizza. He left looking like someone had just canceled his inheritance. By the end of the month, I realized something startling. I hadn't thought about Lucas in 3 whole days. Not while baking with Grandma. Not while sorting nursery fabrics. Not while laughing at Noah's terrible dad jokes about baby names. Spoiler, he wants to name her after a Star Wars character. Over my dead body. 3 whole days. And that's when it hit me. Love doesn't always leave with a bang. Sometimes it slips away quietly, when you stop waiting for someone who never really showed up. It started with a dull ache in my back and a suspicious craving for peanut butter pickles, which I didn't even own. Then the sky split open. Seaforth didn't get many storms, but when they came, they made sure you remembered them. Rain slammed against the roof like it had personal beef with us. Thunder rolled so loud it shook the tea mugs in the cupboard. And of course my body, ever the drama queen, chose that exact moment to go into labor. I was 7 weeks early. Because naturally nothing about my life was ever delivered on schedule. Not my marriage. Not my epiphanies. And now not my child. Grandma. I shouted from the hallway, one hand gripping the wall, the other clutching my swollen belly. Code shrimp. I repeat, code shrimp. She appeared in the doorway in her housecoat and slippers like a retired general ready for war. How far apart are the contractions? I don't know. I snapped. Time is a construct and my uterus is staging a coup. She blinked once. We need to call Noah. No, we need to call a spaceship and get me off this planet. Grandma shoved a pillow under my arm. We're calling Noah. He arrived in 15 minutes, soaked through, winded and calm as ever. His shirt was clinging to him, glasses fogged up, stethoscope already around his neck. And just like that, the world didn't feel quite so terrifying anymore. I was just thinking of texting you, I said between breaths. You always know how to make an entrance, he murmured, already checking my vitals. How far apart are the contractions? Close enough to make me hate you. Good. That means you're progressing. Grandma handed him a towel and a thermos of broth like it was her sacred offering. Don't let her scream herself unconscious. He smiled at her. I've got her. By the time we got to the clinic, the power was flickering and the wind was howling like an ex who couldn't take a hint. Noah walked me in himself. No nurse, no stretcher. Just him and his arms and his stupidly steady heartbeat as I leaned against his chest and hissed through another contraction. Hey, he whispered, brushing damp hair from my face. You've done harder things than this. Name one. You married Lucas Turner. He had a point. The clinic was empty except for one nurse and a receptionist who looked 5 minutes away from quitting. But Noah didn't flinch. He moved like clockwork. Efficient, focused, reassuring. He held my hand through every spike of pain, whispered encouragement into my ear that didn't sound rehearsed or dramatic, and when I screamed that I hated everyone, he just said, "That's fair." I didn't realize I was crying until I felt his thumb brush beneath my eye. You're almost there, Ava. I'm scared. He looked me dead in the eyes. You don't have to be. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And I believed him. For hours later, I heard the sharp wail of a baby piercing through the storm outside. A nurse held her up like a fragile sunrise. Tiny. Wrinkled. Angry. Just like her mother. Congratulations, Noah whispered. You have a very loud daughter. I couldn't speak. I was too busy falling apart and falling in love at the same time. Noah cleaned her up, cradled her gently and walked her over to me. I reached out, trembling. She blinked up at me like she already knew I was a mess and had decided to love me anyway. Hi, shrimp, I whispered, voice breaking. Noah stood quietly beside us. Have you named her yet? He asked softly. I looked down at her and then up at him. Layla, I said. Layla Morgan. He nodded. It's beautiful. She's going to be too, I said. Strong. Soft. Sass and soul in one package. Just like her mom. It should have ended there. Cue the slow fade to black in a piano montage. But no. The universe, still addicted to irony, sent a new knock at the clinic door just as the storm began to wane. And of course it was Lucas. He walked in, drenched and disheveled, like a man who'd finally realized he missed the train, the plane, and the damn bus. I want to see Ava, he said to the nurse. Noah stepped into the hall, blocking him completely. She just gave birth, he said, voice calm but cold. She doesn't need a scene. I'm the father. Noah didn't flinch. No. You're the reason. There's a difference. Lucas's eyes narrowed. You're just her doctor. I'm the one who was there. When it mattered. Lucas shoved him. It wasn't hard. It wasn't violent. But it was enough. Noah stepped back without responding. He straightened his coat, looked at the nurse and said, Call security. Lucas's voice cracked. I just want to see my daughter. Noah met his eyes. You had 100 chances to show up. This isn't one of them. I watched it all from the doorway, holding Layla in my arms. My daughter stirred gently. As if she too could feel the storm had moved indoors. I walked forward. Lucas froze. His eyes softened the second he saw her. Ava, he whispered, please. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Don't beg now, I said, tightening my grip on my daughter. The only thing you ever did fast was forget me. He stared at me like he didn't recognize who I'd become. And he was right. He didn't. He had missed the rebirth. Not mine. Ours. I turned to Noah. Can you take her for a minute? I asked. He reached out without question, cradling Layla like she belonged right there against his chest. And in that moment she did. Lucas looked between us, eyes flickering with the kind of regret you could choke on. But I didn't feel sorry for him. Because for once in my life I wasn't the one left standing in the rain. I was the one holding the umbrella. The first night home with a newborn is a special kind of chaos. It's 2 a.m. diaper explosions, tiny screams with opera-level range, and the kind of hormonal crying that comes from dropping a pacifier on the floor and feeling like a global failure. But Layla? She was perfect. Not quiet. Not calm. Just perfect. Noah drove us home from the clinic in his old Jeep, which smelled like cedarwood and stubbornness. Grandma Helen sat beside me in the back seat, swaddling Layla like a pro while I stared at my daughter in disbelief. How do you feel? Noah asked. Like my insides just reenacted a demolition derby, I replied. Also, I think my hip has shifted into another zip code. He chuckled. That's normal. For the next 6 weeks, everything will hurt. But you'll heal. I know, I said. It's just weird to feel so broken and so full at the same time. He glanced at me through the rearview mirror. You're not broken. I didn't answer. But I smiled a little. Because for the first time I wasn't sure I believed it either. Noah offered to let us stay at his place temporarily, just until my stitches healed and the cottage was ready for us. I almost said no. But then I looked at the guest bedroom, already set up with a bassinet, a rocking chair and a nightlight shaped like a moon. There were soft blankets, herbal teas and a whiteboard on the fridge that said, Feed baby. Hug Ava. Repeat. I didn't say no. Noah was ridiculous. He made me breakfast every morning even when I insisted I could live off toast and juice. He stocked the freezer with soup, the cabinet with granola bars, and the windowsill with sunflowers from the farmer's market. He held Layla like she was made of stardust and glass. He talked to her like she understood every word. He read her bedtime stories in his deep, soothing voice, even though she was 3 days old and mostly fascinated by ceiling fans. And he never not once tried to make it about him. No martyr complex. No, I'm such a good guy energy. Just presence. Uncomplicated, unwavering presence. Meanwhile Lucas? Oh, Lucas was unraveling. His PR team tried to spin his absence from the company as a personal leave of absence for family matters. But the gossip blogs weren't buying it. Especially after someone, definitely not me, leaked a voice recording. In it, Isabelle could be heard laughing during a brunch with her influencer friends, saying, Ava's just a placeholder. I told Lucas to give her a baby so I wouldn't have to. That worked out, didn't it? 5. The internet, as expected, exploded. Hashtags trended overnight. Hashtag shrimp baby. Hashtag forgot her in the rain. Hashtag Isabelle exposed. Hashtag Team Ava. I didn't post anything. I didn't need to. When someone tries to bury you, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is bloom. I watched it all from Noah's couch, wearing one of his oversized sweatshirts and eating almond cookies Grandma Helen brought by. You're really not going to respond? She asked, handing Layla a stuffed turtle. Nope, I said, popping a cookie in my mouth. Silence speaks louder than a 280-character roast. He grinned. So you're not going to tell the world about Lucas's back tattoo of Isabelle's initials? Tempting, I admitted, but no. That secret dies with me. He cackled. That night after Grandma left, I found Noah on the porch, swaying gently in the rocking chair with Layla cradled against his chest. She was fast asleep, tiny mouth slightly open, tiny fists curled into his shirt. He looked up as I stepped outside, his features soft in the golden porch light. She fights sleep just like you do, he whispered. I sat beside him. She likes your voice. So do you, he said, teasing. Only when you're not talking about herbal teas or diaper brands. We sat in silence for a bit. Then he said, I know this isn't how you imagined any of this. And I'm not trying to be anything except what you need right now. But for the record, I'm here. As long as you'll have me. I turned to him slowly. Noah. Yeah. Would you judge me if I kissed you right now? His brows lifted slightly. Only if you used tongue in front of the baby. I laughed so hard I nearly woke Layla. And then I leaned in just a little, just enough, and kissed him on the cheek. His eyes fluttered shut for a second. He didn't move, didn't ask for more. And I realized that was exactly why I trusted him. The next day I walked Layla around the backyard garden in her little sling while my phone buzzed endlessly. Messages. DMs. Even Lucas's lawyer had tried reaching out. He was being sued for fraud by a rival investor and was about to be removed from the company board. Isabelle had gone into hiding. And I was sipping iced tea in a cozy robe with my daughter cooing against my chest. Funny how that worked out. That evening Noah came home from the clinic with a new stuffed bear, a bouquet of peonies and a tired smile. I got called Daddy by accident again, he said as he handed me the flowers. I arched a brow. Scandalous. He shrugged. Not the worst thing I've been called. I took the peonies, pressed my nose to them and whispered, You're doing good, Noah. So are you, he said. Even when you don't think so. I glanced over at Layla, then back at him. You think she knows? Knows what? That I wasn't ready. That I'm still winging it. He smiled. She doesn't need perfect Ava. She just needs present. Like her almost dad? He went quiet. Then said, I don't need a label. I just need her to know I showed up. God help me, I felt my eyes sting. Okay, I whispered. We can start there. The first time I saw Isabelle's apology video, I was changing Layla's diaper while listening to a podcast about pasta sauces. Not exactly the glamorized mom moment the world posts on social media. But hey, we were thriving. The video popped up in my notifications. Isabelle Vincent breaks her silence. I was manipulated too. I stared at the thumbnail. She looked puffy-eyed, dramatically lit, wearing what was probably a $600 silk robe designed to look casual. Her caption read, From one woman to another, Ava. I'm sorry. I paused the podcast. Layla gurgled up at me as if to say, not this chick again. You're right, shrimp, I muttered, clicking play. Let's see what the Academy's missing out on. The video was 6 minutes long. 5 of those minutes were Isabelle subtly blaming Lucas, crying pretty tears, and insisting that she'd only ever wanted peace and happiness for everyone involved. The last minute? Her begging for people to stop sending her hate. Cancel culture isn't justice, she sniffled. Ava deserves her voice. But so do I. I blinked. Oh, sweetie, I murmured. You had a voice. You used it to gloat over brunch. That same day, Noah walked in from the clinic holding a bag of groceries and a knowing smirk. She's trending again, huh? Faster than mold on a forgotten sandwich, I said, tossing my phone onto the couch. Let me guess. Vague accountability, excessive contour? Dead on. He chuckled. I can't decide if I want to punch her or just write her a passive-aggressive Yelp review. I laughed louder than I meant to. Layla kicked happily in her little bouncer. I'm serious, he continued, unloading oat milk and baby carrots. You could write a memoir. Forgotten in the Rain, the Ava Morgan story. I'd rather not immortalize them, I said. Lucas and Isabelle deserve to fade into irrelevance, not go viral. Noah paused. Except, they won't. I looked at him. You're a story now, he said gently. Whether you want it to be or not. The media's running with it. The leaked clip, the baby, your silence. They're painting you like some mystery heroine. The world's asking what you're going to do next. 2 days later I found out he was right. A producer from a major talk show emailed me directly. We'd love to offer you a platform to speak your truth, Ava, on your terms. I stared at the message. Truth. On my terms. Not through Lucas. Not through public assumptions. Just mine. I chewed on it for hours, flipping the baby monitor on and off while Layla slept and the house stayed silent. Grandma Helen said, say yes. You've stayed quiet long enough. Noah said, only do it if it feels like healing, not revenge. I wasn't sure what it felt like. But I said yes. The interview aired live. The host was warm, poised, and didn't once ask about losing my man. Which I appreciated. He asked about motherhood. About moving towns. About silence, grief, and how betrayal felt when it came not from strangers, but from people who once kissed your forehead goodnight. I told her the truth. That I had loved Lucas. That I had wanted to believe in Isabelle. That I had blamed myself. That I had almost stayed. That I had almost given them the happy ending they didn't deserve. And then I said this. They thought I was weak because I was soft. But softness is not weakness. It's the choice to remain kind in a world that tried to break me. And I'm still here. Still kind. But I won't be quiet anymore. The response was instant. Thousands of women flooded my inbox with their own stories. Some painful. Some victorious. Some still in the middle of the storm. I wasn't a hashtag anymore. I was someone's reminder that walking away isn't failure. It's survival. Meanwhile Lucas? Not doing well. He was officially ousted from his firm. His board seat replaced by a junior exec he used to mock for drinking oat lattes. His assets were frozen pending investigation. His name trended daily and not in the sexy brooding CEO way. One particularly savage article titled, "The Man Who Forgot His Wife, Then Forgot His Career" went viral. Isabelle deleted her socials after her brand sponsorships dropped her one by one. Turns out women don't like it when you mock motherhood, gloat over stealing someone's man, then cry when consequences arrive. Sucker. But here's the part that mattered to me. I no longer felt anything. No anger. No spite. Just a detachment. Which honestly is the purest form of freedom. One night, after Layla fell asleep in her crib wearing an owl onesie 3 sizes too big, I found Noah in the living room fixing a drawer that didn't even belong to him. You do realize this isn't your house, right? I teased. He looked up and smiled. It's got your tea mugs and your kids' onesies in the dryer. Feels like home. I leaned on the wall, heart thudding in a way I hadn't let it thud in months. Noah. Yeah. Are you really this good or just a master illusionist? He stood, crossed the room and stopped right in front of me. I'm not perfect, he said, his voice low. But I show up. Every day. And I want to keep doing that, with you. If you'll let me. I stared at him. Then said, I haven't even had time to shave my legs. He smiled. I'll bring razors. And then very softly he kissed me. Not rushed. Not demanding. Just the kind of kiss that says I'm here. I'm staying. Some people measure their healing by how long it's been since they cried. I measured mine by how many mornings I woke up without flinching at the sound of a text message. These days. I woke up to baby babble, the smell of cinnamon toast, and the low hum of Noah singing off-key in the kitchen. If that wasn't healing, I didn't want it. We stayed in Seaforth. Noah built me a wooden sign for my little boutique cafe, carved by hand and painted in soft gold script. The nest, coffee, books and baby hiccups. Grandma Helen came by every day to babysit and supervise inventory, which was code for rearranging the pastry case and smuggling lemon squares into her purse. Layla had her own spot near the counter. A corner filled with soft blankets, plush animals and a rotating audience of retired schoolteachers and sleepy toddlers. I had a community now. A real one. And as I handed oat milk lattes to strangers and watched my daughter kick her feet in her bassinet, I realized this life, this quiet, sacred, humble life, was the one I should have been dreaming of all along. Lucas tried to see me one last time. He came to the cafe near closing, wearing a sweater that was trying too hard and an expression that wasn't sure if it should be apologetic or charming. I knew he was there before I turned around. It's a weird thing, how your body still senses a person who once shattered you. Ava, he said gently. You look beautiful. I didn't smile. You look like someone who read a lot of self-help books too fast. He flinched. I deserved that. Did you come to order a drink or just memories? He sighed. I came to say goodbye. I leaned on the counter, arms folded. Then say it. I miss you. I miss what we had. I let out a soft laugh. You don't miss me, Lucas. You miss who I was when I still needed your approval. That version of me is gone. He looked away, jaw tight. You're not even going to hear me out? I heard everything I needed to the day you left me standing in the rain. You just didn't realize the silence was my answer. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small box. I had this made, before everything. I was going to propose. I didn't take it. I already said yes, to myself. And that's the only proposal that mattered. He left it on the counter. And I left it in the trash. That night Noah and I took Layla for a walk. It was drizzling, just enough to scent the air and make the sidewalk shimmer. We shared an umbrella, Layla wrapped between us in a sling, snoring softly. You okay? He asked, sensing the leftover tension in my shoulders. Yeah, I said. Lucas came by. He paused. Do I need to fight him? Or just publicly humiliate him again? I smiled. Neither. He's already been outloved. Noah squeezed my hand. I never thought I'd be here, I said softly. Raising a child. Running a business. With someone who actually listens when I speak. You deserve all of it, he said. And more. We stopped under a street lamp. I looked up at him, at this steady, kind, flawed, wonderful man who had never once asked me to be anything other than exactly who I was. Noah. Yeah. Will you help me raise her? His eyes softened. Only if I can do it as her dad. I blinked. Not her stepdad, he continued. Not your boyfriend's weird roommate. Her dad. The man who teaches her how to ride a bike and shows up to every recital and warns boys that her mom once threw a lamp at a man's car. I laughed, choked up and messy. You know it was a travel-sized lamp, right? He grinned. Still counts. I kissed him then, under the soft glow of the streetlight, our daughter nestled between us, the rain washing everything else away. We didn't need vows or witnesses. We had cinnamon mornings, 3 a.m. feedings, warm socks, and shared glances that said, you're not alone anymore. That was enough. 6 months later, the cafe was thriving. Layla had 2 teeth, a fierce waddle, and a terrifying ability to charm the grumpiest old men with a single giggle. Noah had officially moved in. So had his bookshelf, his toolbox, and his tendency to leave half-drunk mugs of coffee in random places. Grandma Helen called us, my favorite little mess. I wore it like a badge of honor. One rainy afternoon, I watched Layla press her palms against the cafe window as water dripped down the glass. She stared in awe, mesmerized by something most adults had grown numb to. And I realized something. I wasn't afraid of the rain anymore. Because this time I wasn't forgotten. This time someone stayed. This time I chose the family who never needed fixing. Just loving. The end.